Welcome back to our show and program, Growing Minds. Growing Minds is not something you watch once, but something you keep watching over and over again. When we thought of this program, we thought of how many parents and how many servants, and maybe even clergy, would love to know how to handle many of the issues that it goes through our Sunday schools or even homes. When we put this faculty together, I'm very, very proud of how many minds came together to serve and help many families and many servants. I am very proud to say that this program, I think, is going to be something that can be used in Sunday school curriculum in the future. Some of the faculty you have met already. Dr. Mina Merham, a psychiatrist who spoke about anxiety, depression, acting out, aggressive behavior, bipolar, and so on. You also heard from Adli from Montreal, Canada, who is a certified life coach and a parenting expert. And he spoke about how to become a warrior as a parent. Very soon you will be hearing from Silvia Farag, who is going to talk about a very important topic, which is raising successful kids. And then we have Christina Gaibi, who is a PhD in counseling and mental health, and she will be speaking about resilience in our children. Sylvia Zaki is a speech pathologist, a speech therapist, and she will be speaking about ADHD, autism, and the spectrum. When I thought of this program, I thought that one day, every single parent will meet a child who will go back and find out the answer in some of these lectures. Today's lecture, however, is very unique, not only because the speaker is very specialized as a certified mental health specialist with a master's degree and now studying to become a PhD, but also because she became an authority for many parenting, many Sunday schools, and many clergy that you go to Sylvia to ask about how to deal with these issues. And the topic that she chose for us today, and there will be another topic later on in the coming weeks, is how to raise a successful kid. And I don't think any parent or even a servant would love more than to hear about this topic. Sylvia, I'm very proud and very honored to have you today. Thank you very much for giving us your time and expertise.
Thank you for having me. I'm actually very excited about this program. I think it's very forward-thinking and cutting edge, and thank you for the efforts of bringing together a think tank so we can sort of share what we've learned along the way with all of you. So without further ado, I'd love to get started. Since we had a little bit of a late start, but that means that's good things to come. So hang in there with us. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So raising successful kids. So I'm a mom. I have 3 kids and a servant in my own right. And we all want to raise kids with character, not like a character, right? So it's not that simple though. There is a way to raise successful kids in today's entitled world, maybe a son or a daughter who will confidently and wisely make their way into healthy adults. But how do we do that? The secret starts with you, the parent, nobody else. So I'm going to give you some tools today. They're not abracadabra. They are a basic understanding of principles that are going to change the way you think and respond, so your children will then think and respond differently. No matter what age your child is, your efforts will always produce a win-win relationship, and that's what's important. But this starts with you. So raising a successful kid, a resilient kid, starts with you. So we have to change a few things about even the way we interact with our kids. And you're going to be amazed about the transformation that happens in both of you. So what do I mean by this? Start with the end in mind. What do I mean by this? To get to your goal, you have to know your target, right? So if some of you have been following along in the Olympics and you see how they're doing like archery, for example, they have a target. They've been practicing and practicing probably a very long career so they can hit that target. What is the goal? This is why I like to begin with the end, because the goal for us as Christians is the kingdom. So the fathers of the church teach us that if we want to teach our children how to live according to the values and virtues of the kingdom of God, then first and foremost, we need to live that way as parents. So as parents and servants, essentially, we want our kids to be successful in life. Every single one of us, that's our hope. But as Christians, we need to be very clear by what successful means. That's why God's perspective becomes so important. So parenting requires endless patience. And it's not the patience that puts up with inappropriate behavior, but the patience that intervenes effectively, repeatedly. I can't tell you how many times I've had to repeat the same thing over and over again. But as long as our child struggles, we've got to hang in there with them. So this allows the children the opportunity to struggle, to grow, to learn, to love, and acquire these values that they're going to need as adults. Patience just simply means we respond consistently and appropriately every single time because we have our long-term goals in mind. So one of the most beautiful, uplifting moments in our liturgy that I absolutely love, and some churches actually do this, is when Abuna prays right before the introduction of the fraction, lead us throughout the way into your kingdom. And sometimes the whole church closes their eyes and lifts up and prays this together. Hands up to him, eyes to him, voices pleading together with Abuna. That is the goal. This is what it's all about. Many of us, including myself, we dream that our child's going to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a pharmacist. We're Egyptian, right? So we don't talk much about who our kids are going to become, just what they will become. For now, I want you to look past those dreams. You have that kind of job, that status, the money, the car, all nice. But those are outside layers that others see that may define positions in society, but not who your kids are to their core, who you want them to be, who you crave them to be. Character, attitude, values. Telling them and reminding them or lecturing them, it doesn't work, guys. It simply doesn't work. The most important tool we as servants and parents have, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. The most important tool that we as parents and servants have is modeling. Very simple. If you don't set your destination when you're driving, you're going to take a lot of detours. Trying to raise a successful kid without identifying an end goal is the same thing. You need a target. We need to model this. You can do all your church activities, but if you cut somebody off on the road, yell, scream, use inappropriate language, that's what you're modeling. That's what your kids are learning. So some examples for you. For those of you who want to be your child's best friend, you may vacillate between, decisions to please him or her. Aiming toward producing a successful adult means sticking to your plans that adhere to your goals. They don't have to like it. The child may temporarily be upset with you, but they're going to thank you later, I promise. For those of you who wander through life without a roadmap or planning because it's so much more fun, well, your kids deserve intentional planning. They thrive in structure. They need you to make conscious choices based on set values, beliefs, and goals. They thrive on routine and knowing what you expect of them, believe it or not. So it's important that you spend one-on-one time with your kids. So I have 3 kids, All three of them are very different personalities. It is not one size fits all. But my goal is the same for them. So to get to your end goal, you have to know the qualities you're aiming for. You have to know what who your kids really are. Every effort that you make to spend time with them is important. Quality time. To spend time building 4 foundations: character, behavior, respect, and a good attitude. That good attitude is so under talked about. So I had a question. My kid is mouthy all the time. What can I do to get my kid to be more respectful? So my answer is twofold. How do you respond? Right? Are you respectful at home? Are you respectful to the cashier in the store? Are you respectful with your husband or your wife? Are you respectful to your child? Because they need respect, right? But if your child mouths off, right, as you said, simply walk away. I'm actually serious. The next time they want to do something or get something, you say, I'm not available. When she asks why, say, I didn't appreciate the way you spoke to me this morning. However, when you are ready to speak respectfully, I'm here. The hardest part is sticking to your guns, right? Whining, crying, angry outbursts. Don't change your mind. Follow through. They will know that you, as the parent, are not going to waver. We've got a backbone. Case closed. So, when I get together with all of my friends, we often talk about our kids. Our hope is that we all raise good kids who do well in life, and we want our children who are well educated to be thriving, marry healthy people, have meaningful jobs, grow in their own families in positive ways, and involve themselves in church and a personal relationship with Christ. These hoped for outcomes are influenced by who you are as parents. Period. You are the most influential person in your child's life. So most of us find that our parenting approaches were greatly influenced by how we were parented. But for some of us, our role models were positive and some of us were not. We can learn from watching others, from getting on series like these, going to parenting classes, reading books, talking about it with like-minded people. Doesn't have to be, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to go out. There's so much good information out there, such as this. So that's just a few suggestions for us to consider, okay? Next, I want you to understand that successful kids have a very strong sense of self. It's not easily compromised by peers or external influences. We got a lot of questions about these, okay? Parents help develop this independence by encouraging children to work through conflicts, solve problems, and form healthy relationships. But to do this means allowing your kids to gradually make those decisions as they grow and feel the consequences of those decisions. You're going to talk quite a bit about this in building resilience in kids. So you need to encourage your kids to come to these decisions on their own with your guardrails, of course, right? But that gives them a sense of competence, a sense of confidence. Controlling parents, however, feed into low self-confidence by telling their kids what to do all the time. And that creates an unhealthy dependence and kids who don't have high self-esteem. Dependent kids have a difficult time thinking for themselves, making decisions. The goal is to raise a child who's independent, but who's also emotionally connected to you, mom and dad, right? Not easy. So in the home, in my home, in the struggles, this is where we learn patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, sharing, selfless love. It's in that home that we're working out our salvation, being perfected in Christ and being made holy. The spiritual life is a struggle to learn to love as Christ loves. Children are learning, and we are always teaching. They're learning the most when they're struggling, by the way. And we're teaching by how to respond to those challenges and to those misbehaviors. So it begins with us. That is why we need to be really intentional about how we use these tools. Now, this is something that's pretty prevalent in our culture, right? Yelling is not an effective parenting strategy, right? And I'm prone to doing this. I get overwhelmed. I'm human. Sometimes I grow impatient for one reason or another. You repeat, you ask, you repeat yourself 10 times, then you yell, and then they look at you and say, why are you yelling, right? It's better that you save your yelling for your favorite sports teams or politics or the Olympics. Yelling is especially tough on kids who are sensitive and easily hurt by verbal harshness. Kids who are yelled at have behavioral problems, develop discipline problems. No one likes to be yelled at. I don't want to be yelled at. And believe me when I tell you that yelling interferes with the development of a secure attachment. A strong emotional bond, secure attachment, is weakened by a parent who's harsh, who's controlling, and who yells. Kids who are criticized don't stop loving you, the parent. They stop loving themselves. I want you to write that down too. Kids who are criticized don't stop loving you. They stop loving themselves. Next, this is a tough one, right? Don't be overprotective. I am first generation born here. I got a job when I was 16, so I wasn't driving yet. I think I was working at Lord and Taylor. And I had, there's certain shifts you have to clock in, you have to clock out. But my mother would show up before the sun set, and she's like, nope, time to go. The sun sets, so must we. So eventually they're like, you know what? Don't come back, right? She was overprotective, and not because of anything other than she was fearful. She loved me, and she was worried about me. A fish out of water, right? So she came to a country, she was overwhelmed, so she became overprotective. But we understand what this does to children. Being a helicopter parent hurts kids. When kids are too protected and hovered over, they become dependent on parents to fix things. And that makes life easy for them, right? They come to expect parents to mow down any and all obstacles that they might face. This leads to a sense of entitlement later. As hard as it is sometimes to watch your child struggle or even fail, they grow from facing difficulties. Remember, it's in the struggle, in the home, that's where we grow. So give them space. Don't remove every single obstacle that they face. Instead, guide them through difficulty, allowing them to problem solve. This is so important. This skill will set them up for life. They learn in the struggle, okay? So if they come to you with a problem and a question, you can turn it around and say, well, what do you think? How would you handle that? And get some ideas. And then you share with them, right? So there's three major parenting styles that have been identified: authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. The best parenting style is authoritative, in which parents are loving, consistent, and provide structure. They listen, not yell, and explain things to their kids. When they make realistic demands on their kids, they help provide that guidance. So in contrast, authoritarian parents value obedience as a virtue itself and constantly tell children what to do. That develops rigid kids. Rigid conformity to rules is expected. Permissive parents do not provide needed boundaries and structure. They don't provide consequences for inappropriate behavior, and they're lax in their parenting style. Passive. So look at your parenting style and make it more consistent with an authoritative approach, right? God the Father is an authoritative parent. Don't do too much for them. This is so important. As much as you want to do it, you want to get it right, you want to cut corners, you want to save time, it's hard to watch them do it. If you do too much for them, you rob them of the opportunity to learn. You steal their self-esteem. So when they give you a problem, don't go fix it for them and give it back to them, because competent kids solve their own problems. If you have low self-esteem, you develop self-esteem by solving things, by using your mind, critical thinking, okay? There's a great study out of Harvard where they looked at 454 inner city Boston schools, and they followed them for 70 years. 70 years. The only thing that went with them to raise mentally strong kids with self-esteem was whether or not you worked as a child. Did you do chores, right? Did you learn grit? Did you learn how to deal with people? This is a study out of Harvard. This is not my opinion. This stuff is important to foster independence. We need to ensure a very strong emotional bond, okay? I know we're all working hard and we're all very busy, and we come home and we just want to relax or put our feet up or turn the TV on. Are we fostering connection like that? A detached, cold parent doesn't create security and attachment that the child needs to thrive. A parent that's too busy and neglects the child's emotional life is emotionally depleted with little to give their kids. This is going to create an insecure attachment and an anxious kid. So in order for you to build a strong emotional bond, parents need to tune into the emotional lives of their kids and be responsive to their needs. My kids have different needs, right? So each of my children I take out alone. I like to spend one-on-one time with them so I can create an opportunity to bond with them, right? In the way that they need. We all have different needs. So if that emotional bond is not secure, I guarantee you the child may become insecure and anxious, and that carries into other relationships. Now we talked about chores. This is true, okay? I think I read something about Elon Musk's mom. She did an interview, and he has two siblings, I believe, and they're all extremely successful in their own right. What did they do have in common? Mom said she had them help around the house. They had chores, there was expectations, and there was structure. Hard work doesn't hurt anybody. In fact, it builds character and the skills necessary for success later in life. So if you want to prepare for your child for success, that's a tangible way to do it. So no dela, right? Dela in different ways, but assign them regular chores at home, okay? Have them make their beds, do dishes, take out the trash, things like that. Children who do chores also tend to be more empathetic, and empathy is huge, and we're better collaborators at work. Given this, while you still have them at home, think of ways that you can build this work ethic through assigned chores and service to others. So my husband and my kids just came back from the monastery in Texas with their church, and the boys loved the service piece of it. Why? Because service, when you serve, it gives you hits of dopamine, that good hormone, that good feeling, right? And it makes you feel good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, you feel confident, and then you feel competent. It is God's design to get us to do things in our best interest by serving others. And this brings me to, this is so, so important. Emotional intelligence. I'm not talking about IQ, I'm talking about EQ. Most leaders in their own right have very high EQ. They are very high in this category, and I'll tell you why. Cognitive intelligence is fairly fixed, IQ, and it's measured by standardized testing and among other things. But EQ it's a totally different animal. It can be taught, by the way. EQ has to do with how well children recognize emotional states and regulate them. Begin by helping your kids identify emotions and then to use them productively to make decisions, right? To solve problems and read the emotional cues of others. My oldest, his EQ is through the roof. And I noticed that when he was younger, so I helped foster it by asking him questions, by asking him what he thought, by having him share his input. When he realized that his input was really valuable to me, he enjoyed sharing, and that also helped him develop his EQ. Children with high EQ do better in life. So spend time attending to that emotional development of your kids, not just academics, guys. It's really important. Leaders, strong leaders, successful leaders have very high EQ, and it can be taught. Aim high, okay? Expectations matter. We often say don't have expectations in marriage, but we're talking about parenting, okay? Expectations matter. Some of you may worry that you're having high expectations for your child might lead to some problems. This can be true if the expectations are not realistic, but realistic expectations can motivate if they're given in a positive way. Be positive. It's your, again, all of this and everything that I'm teaching you begins with you. So many adults will tell you that having parents who believed in them and verbalized their expectations influenced their success. There are many stories of very successful kids, very successful adults who were kids that grew up in some of the most humble, poor conditions. And how did they develop that hunger, that drive for success? In the context of one caring adult, of an adult who believed in them. Expect the best, get the best. So now let's talk about how you build character, okay? You know what makes a difference? Investing in your kids. Kids know when they're not being invested in. Low expectations are a feeling before they become an actual result. Kids are born into this world with a sense of hope and a sense of optimism. No matter where they are from or how tough their stories are, no bad kids, no only bad circumstances. They think they can be anything because we tell them that. So we have a responsibility to be optimistic and to operate in the world that way. Your own behavior and plowing ahead, making the best of your circumstances and never giving up is a powerful role model. And this is huge. Working hard is a family trait. You don't have to tell your kids to work hard because they will see it day in and day out. You have to show it. You have to model it. You don't have to guilt your kids into doing things. Look what are we doing for you? You better repay. You better get good grades or you will never this or that. Let your actions speak louder than your words, but set good expectations. In short, some parents know their kids' character, role modeled successful behavior, had respect for their kids' ideas, and showed a winning attitude. This is important. If you want to unleash your child's potential and motivate them to success, expect the best, you get the best. And by the way, there's going to be some bumps along the road, but remember, patience, right? So let's talk discipline. What does it mean? Discipline is from the Greek word to disciple, and that means to teach, not to punish, okay? One of the best ways to learn this for life is actually the hardest fruit of the Holy Spirit to master. What is it? Self-control. To me, that's the hardest one, because controlling our thoughts, what comes out of our mouths, what we put in our mouths, what we listen to, how we respond to people. So if a young kid has a tantrum, this is another question. Most parents will try to talk them out of it, right? Don't be like that. Stop that this instant. Don't cry or offer treats and bribes. These methods may halt the behavior once or twice, but they don't work in the long term. When a child gets what he wants, they're going to continue that behavior. Trust me. All of this is learned. But the sooner kids learn that self-control and delayed gratification are a part of life, the better for them and you and everyone around them. This is so important. Kids who don't have self-control can end up becoming bullies, or entitled. They do whatever they want or whatever they feel like doing. They lack motivation. They lack working towards goal. They lack grit, right? Lack of self-control is a recipe for disaster. You're going to lose friends. You're going to have a difficult time handling a situation that doesn't go their way. So, tenacity. If you want a child who doesn't give up easily, start with these steps. If you got a bad grade on a science test, right? And then your child says, I hate science. I'm just dumb. You sit beside him. Hey, science was hard for me too. But you know what? I believe in you. I know if you stick to it, you can overcome anything. Your high school student is overwhelmed by college options and doesn't know where to start. You say, hey, let's start by checking out one school, one by one. List the pros and the cons. And then once you're satisfied that you know enough about the school, look at the next one. You will get it done if you do it one step at a time. Such little simple and positive techniques handled in the moment spur on a child to be tenacious in character, sticking to the task until they're completed. This is hard now, but mom is right. I can get this done if I do it one step at a time. Many people might give up when the going gets rough, right? When it's too hard. But if you teach your child tenacity, they get tough when the tough gets going. That's what we want. Another thing, parents and servants, please, and we're all guilty of this, don't compare the A student to the non-A student, for example. Point out the special and unique gifts that a non-A student has. Embrace their uniqueness. Build them up. Don't tear them down. Remember, when we criticize our kids, they don't stop loving us. They stop loving themselves. We are taught to train a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it. Sometimes I think train down our kids, not train up. We've got to do it the right way. Don't talk down. Now, this is really, really important. I think this affects every area in the home, and it affects your kids. You've got to manage your own stress. When children are consistently in a stressful environment, it's going to impact them in very negative ways. They sense stress and often they feel responsible. This doesn't free them to focus on what they should be doing. Okay. Remember, their brains are not fully developed till they're 25. Instead, they worry about their parents. So make your home a more positive place by using good stress management, and you're modeling healthy ways to deal with stress. You are teaching by example. If you struggle in this area, and a lot of us do, get help. Children need parents who are able to cope with life's problems and show them how to do the same. Don't talk about it, show them. Point the way to Christ. You want a successful child? We begin with the end goal in mind. Parents are responsible to train and equip children in the Lord. It's our mandate to teach a biblical worldview in such a non-Christian world. A worldview provides a lens from which a person organizes the world and thinks critically about what they see, right? It's important to this that our kids practice spiritual disciplines, such as reading the Bible, praying together, tithing. This all leads to our kids to have a good relationship with Christ. This is the anchor. This has eternal value. All of us need a spiritual anchor, a compass to navigate through life to get us to that end goal. This comes through practicing your faith every day and making it relevant to a child's life. So one of my kids, he can get emotional, my youngest, right? So I taught him just say the Jesus prayer when you feel your blood pressure about to boil. He's only 12. So he needs a good coping skill to be able to learn how to calm down. So deep breathing, teach your kids deep breathing. Often when our kids become dysregulated and they want to have a tantrum, they can't control it. So our blood pressure goes through the roof and everything turns off. Empathy, critical thinking, all turns off because right now we are stressed. Cortisol took over our bodies. So what do we teach our kids to do? They can all say the Jesus prayer, or they can sit down and take 4 deep breaths. 4 seconds inhale, hold it for 2 seconds, and 4 seconds exhale. And if they do this 4 times, they're going to lower their blood pressure. Imagine giving your child a skill like that they could carry with them through life. Jesus prayer and deep breathing. I mean, that's the path to success. Successful children are those who internalize the values and virtues of the kingdom of God. Not because we're watching or we say so, because they believe these things deeply in their heart. Successful children form secure personal attachments, have high emotional intelligence, live in families in which stress is managed, develop a strong work ethic, have high expectations, and they're encouraged to solve their own problems using the guidance of parents, right? Remember, we're the guardrails. Spiritual training is a key ingredient in building resilience and teaching your kids to flourish in success. So take a moment and evaluate yourself in these 11 areas. Decide what you might need improvement in, because we all need to improve. We had a few more questions. I'm going to read you a couple. And one of them was, what should I do when my son is a follower and not a leader? This is a great question, okay? Because remember, it's personality, it's birth order. It's not one size fits all. So whether your child is a follower or leader can depend on a lot of factors, including temperament, experiences. If you're concerned that they're more of a follower than a leader, remember you could teach them to develop some leadership skills. You can encourage initiative, give them opportunities to make decisions and take on responsibilities. You got to create things. Maybe choose a family activity or a small project at home. Allow them to lead it. Promote some problem solving. Encourage them to think critically and solve problems on their own. You can do this by asking open-ended questions and discussing different solutions to everyday challenges. Remember, we said earlier, if your child comes to you with something they're struggling with, instead of lecturing them and advising them and telling them what to do and then walking away, say, how do you think we should handle that? What do you think you would do? What are you comfortable doing? Give and take, talk, have the conversation, and then get to some different solutions together, okay? Model leadership, period. Demonstrate leadership qualities yourself. Love and lead. Show them how to take initiative. Show them how to make decisions. Handle challenges with confidence. This is really, really important. Also, communication skills. I think this is, we live in a world now where our kids are attached to their phones, right? And often communication skills sort of go by the wayside. So leadership always involves very good communication. Help them develop these skills through practice, such as give them an opportunity to publicly speak, express their thoughts clearly, and listen to others. When your child wants to come and talk to you, you need to drop everything and listen. Listen, no matter how tired you are. One of my kids loves to come right when I'm about to fall asleep. He walks in the room and he likes to pace in a circle, and that's when he wants to talk. When I know he's pacing, means, this is going to be serious. It does not matter how tired I am. We're going to talk. You got to show up. Okay. So we got to appreciate their strengths, and that will promote the leadership in them. So sometimes supporting roles are just as important as leadership roles. So don't push. Another question. My 14-year-old daughter's not interested in school and doesn't seem to be motivated to go to college. How can I help her be successful? All right. So it's not uncommon for teenagers to struggle with motivation, especially when it comes to school. Understand her interests. She might have different interests. So spend time talking with her about her interests, her passions. Sometimes a lack of motivation simply stems from not seeing a connection between schoolwork and her personal interests. So she can't figure out what her goals are. Identify with her what she enjoys, and that can help tailor her education and further plans and align with those interests, her strengths. Set small goals with her. Really important. Achievable goals, small wins. This can build confidence and provide a sense of accomplishment for her. And it can be in any area, school, home, church. And then just, explore different options with her when she decides what she thinks is really good at. I guess you guys can see the theme here throughout this entire talk. It is help your child to become successful by promoting their strengths, by listening, by modeling, and by doing all these things yourself, right? And begin with the end goal in mind always. This is my favorite line in the liturgy, and I think this is perfect for every single talk. Fill our hearts with joy and gladness, that we too, having sufficiency in everything always, may abound in every good deed. So if we fill our hearts with him, everything else seems to work out. Thank you so much. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I'm not sure if there's more questions that came up. I tried to answer as many as I could, but I don't believe we have more. So I think that might be time, right? Okay. I know that there was a QR code on the screen. So if you do have questions and we didn't get to them, I'd be happy to answer them later offline and post it possibly to CYC. So thank you for having me. This is a wonderful series. I hope that you tune in to listen to all the other ones that are coming. You have some excellent speakers and thought leaders in their own disciplines. And thank you to Dr. Hani for his tireless efforts and truly having the heart of a service and being a role model for all of us. Thank you.